Hey, everybody. At the end of each year, I have done kind of a recap and set goals for the next year. And it started with, I think, specifically trying to pick birds that I wanted to see. And now that we've kind of filled out, like we're well over 100, I don't have a total count. It's a lot harder to see new birds. We did manage a few over this last year, but it really helps me, I think, kind of mentally to go through this and look back over the year. Because before I sat down to start gathering this stuff and kind of come up with some notes to talk about, I would have been like, well, what did I even do? Did I do anything? But I did a pretty good amount and I feel better already. And so we're going to kind of go through, I made some changes in 2025 to what I was doing and I had big goals and I almost immediately dropped a few of them. It's okay. It's not ideal. It's not really what I wanted to do. I certainly didn't plan it because otherwise, why would I have made those goals and started new projects and things like that? But it just became unsustainable. And it was something that I kind of lost interest in and realized that I wanted to focus on what I really got the most out of. So, like starting a podcast and doing 2 episodes and then stopping. That's okay because I had plenty of other things to do. And I'm going to continue doing that, which is kind of recentering on what I find important and what I find fulfilling, I suppose, really, to get down to that. So, yeah, I made a bunch of stuff over the year. And I went through and just kind of looked at everything and picked out a few highlights, mostly off of the things that went on Patreon. I made a video that I'd been trying to get to for quite a while because it was just such a hassle to do, which was just talking about all the camera equipment that I use because I admit in that video that it's kind of a 2-pronged thing for me. I get just as much enjoyment out of like getting a new camera and having a new piece of equipment as I do using it in the field to do the thing that I want to do with it. So I've been doing a lot of out in the field and not a lot of talking about what it was. And as I made changes and kind of did that, and I mean, the point of this, there's multiple points as to why I'm doing any of this, but one of them in my head is certainly like, I want to show everything that, I want to show everything, what cameras I'm using, why I'm using those, things like that. So that was part of it. And that took a lot to get to and do. And I'm really glad I got that done. That was just a whole thing. And it happened and it's really good. And besides that, for plans that didn't work out, one of the other things I wanted to do was create a bunch of different, like I said, the podcast and then Patreon only content that went with it to kind of make that subscription worthwhile. So some of that didn't work out, but I managed to focus in. Instead of doing nothing, there was a lot more of like behind the scenes stuff, or when I went like on a camping trip. I did 2 camping trips. I had a goal of 4. I did 2. I'm okay with that. Next year's goal will be more, not 0. But it was fun. It didn't cost all that much because I rented an Airbnb both times and like they wasn't cheap, but it was a good time, a good experience. I did one for one reason, which was that I had jury duty. And so, that was a video that went up and I made a bunch of extra stuff there. That was the point of that, was that Patreon got a lot more of that as opposed to then I cut it down into 1. And that happened there. And then that happened again when I went to visit Ward, Colorado, which was kind of funny because of my last name, right? That was good. I really enjoyed that. And it also it was a totally different experience from what I've done. Instead of just going out for like a half-day trip of going to see wildlife, like actually being there. And I also realized that by myself, that half-day trip works really well because I'm entirely focused on what I got to do, and I kind of have like a schedule of here's what I need to do and get through the things. And then there's downtime, and I don't know what to do with that downtime. And I wound up getting bored while I was there, actually. So I learned a little bit about myself, a little bit about taking a trip by myself, which, it'd be great to have someone else to take trips with in the future. That's something that would be cool, and then I won't be bored probably. Or, there will just be more to do. But I could have used that time better because then I came back and looked at everything and like collected all the footage and went, I didn't learn anything about the location I went to. So I did a follow-up. It would have been better to do that on site. I said that in the video. But at the very least, depending on how busy it is and how much I schedule on a future trip, I at least take the time to kind of learn about it and do the touristy bit of that stuff. And I did it online and learned a bit more about Ward, Colorado, which there wasn't a huge amount. It probably would have been better to do it in person, but it is what it is. And I used that also as a mental focus for like the vacation I took with my wife to Colorado Springs later this past year. And we just, that was fully, didn't record anything. I took some pictures at one point because we did go out and see some nature and things that I enjoy and that, but like I did a video after that point. But anyway, it really showed me like I'm trying to branch out. That was a very different style video than anything I've really done before. And doing a follow-up and learning about it. And also it put this space to use, which I haven't touched since recording this follow-up video about 6 months ago or 5. I guess it came out in June, July, somewhere in that area. This was built for the podcast that I then stopped doing. It is what it is. I'm going to try to find a reason to use this a bit more because I put a lot of work and effort into like soundproofing this area and creating a thing that now I don't use. And I just stuck a TV back there that, anyway, that was that. I experienced some new stuff and I'm really happy that I did it. It was good learning experiences one way or the other. But the wildlife side of things, we can focus back on that. That is the main reason of doing all this stuff. I saw pelicans fishing. I thought that was cool. I know that might not be super exciting for some, but like watching them do this is kind of it's one thing to go out and see a bird. It's another thing to go out and see a bird doing something behaviorally that's interesting to me. And them doing this kind of like the only thing I think that could have made this better besides, changing a few settings or a different angle or something like that, besides on me for recording, would have also been a shot like what it looked like under the water. If I had some kind of action camera down there under the water, that would have been really, I imagine that would have been terrifying to like get the fish's perspective as these beaks are coming down. But like, I thought this was awesome. I thought that was really cool to watch them the way they kind of in group do this kind of movement, because it's clearly, I assume, under the surface actually getting the fish like kind of collected up, bunched up in a way that it makes it easier for them to catch them. And there is a point somewhere in this video, this is an almost 30-minute video, where you get to see that. And that's cool. That was a highlight for sure, getting to see the pelican fish. And then further on, getting to see the killdeer. And in the same vein, the downy woodpecker. I don't think I have to say much more if you saw this. If not, back in May, I published some videos of bird watching for them. We're talking about interesting behavior. Mating is an interesting behavior. It's funny for the child in me that's like, hee hee hee. But genuinely, seeing this is not something you see every day. I'm sure that there are people who go their entire lives and never see this happen. And I caught it on video, and the video came out pretty decent, and I'm happy about it. Those two things were really cool. I do like to see new things. One of the new things, this is out of order. This is a black squirrel. I'd never seen one before. That was cool. Okay, this is just an osprey. I just thought this photo was cool, seeing it up there with the mountains in the background. Like, obviously, I live here. I can see the Rocky Mountains every day. To me, every day I see them is still like, oh, that's exciting. And I know if I live here for, a decade or something, it's probably going to get to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, that's the same landscape as whatever. But, like, it's so cool. So I was happy about that. And then the American widgeon was new. I had never seen one before. So the fact that we did that was pretty cool. That's just, I like to see the new stuff that it adds to the collection. And, I have a list ongoing with something like that. I am just trying to randomly click around here to see about this. It's also at a very low quality. Don't worry about it. The video is there. It's enough for you to go find it. You can see the title if you want to see that. That was exciting to see a new bird, a new species. That's, I said I used to set goals specifically for that purpose, and I'm not really doing that anymore. But speaking of something new, to something we'll come back to. I already talked about it again. We're just kind of recapping. But Anhinga. The fact that it was in Colorado is apparently extremely rare. And probably like the groups that I had gone and talked to about this, which is something we'll get back to, but basically said this was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You're probably never going to see one in Colorado, and it only probably happened because the storms knocked it off course. So I did the best that I could on a couple different occasions of going out, taking pictures when I could see it, getting video when I could see it. The fact that we saw it at all, really cool. And I put that on my website. All the photos in the video. I'm very excited that I got to see that. I will probably never have another opportunity, 2025 for sure. I was trying to pick out some highlights. Seeing an Anhinga in Colorado, maybe. It's not like any of the photos of the video were that good, like quality-wise, as far as actually being able to see interesting behavior or anything, but just the fact that we got to see it. Cool. Who's that bird? There was another instance where I'd gone driving because it was going to rain and looked around and saw something really exciting that I thought I had seen something brand new. And so I did one of the Patreon things that I've managed to continue as a bonus is that I actually sit down and just flip through the book and try to figure out the identification process of birds is an exciting one to me. And it's, actually trying to narrow it down. There's so many little details to get right, and I probably get them wrong often, but that is something that goes on Patreon. This was one that went public for everybody because I had recorded for like 2 hours in the car and I didn't know what this was. And so I couldn't talk about it anyway. So I put this one out for that stuff. An important lesson, because I really, really wanted it to be one that was new, and it was not. I technically have seen what we saw in that video before. It's okay. It is what it is. Moving on. Landscape. Just cool. This is one of my favorite shots, I think. Just trying to pick out some highlights. Again, this video is partly recapping and partly looking back at stuff that I've done, and I thought this was really good. I just like this shot. You get so much elements in here of just like being out of the park. You see what the landscape is like during this time of year. The fact that the mountains are covered in snow. You've got clouds, but just a few. You don't want full cloud coverage. Tiny bit of birds in the corner. I like it. I just thought it was cool, so I wanted to highlight it. I also thought this was cool. This was another one, like I went out in the early winter morning and there's just snow all over all the trees, not as much on the ground. I just like the way this contrasts. I don't know. I like it. I like what I like, and I like this photo of mine. It's very hard for me to pick out things like that anyway, but there were several landscape shots like that I thought were really cool, and I wound up going through. We'll get to that. We're not there yet, are we? We almost are. You know what? Yeah, basically. This one, video recording. Where have you been all summer? Well, this summer I did a pretty big project. That was probably the one that took the most time and effort was my website. There were 2 of them, and I built a whole new website. And it's not anything fancy. Let's be clear. I threw it together. It actually wound up being very useful for me in my personal life to have gone through and built 2 different websites in WordPress, because my job turned into building a website in WordPress by the end of the year. So I had a lot of experience with this kind of drag and drop and all the little nitty gritty annoying things that come with that. But I rebuilt the websites. There was a financial reason to do so. The prices were going up already on the website service that I was using, which is unnamed. And I also was paying a lot of premium to have it, to use those things. And I realized I could significantly cut down the costs on that. And that very much was useful to me. So, yes, that was a huge project to overhaul. And I went back through it with like just building a new website's one thing. Building a new website tied in with re-identifying and re-editing every photo I've ever taken. Not every photo, every good photo I've ever taken, because I probably have like 10,000 photos taken over the last 7 years, I think, since I started this. I don't know. It's almost like maybe I meant to put, I guess I don't have a link to it on here. Something else I'll need to do. I had a blog. I don't know how far back it goes. There's 11 pages. How far? 2019. Well, that date can't be right, is it? Well, actually, maybe. I think I probably did at least, I think I started in 2018, and I probably did about 6 or 7 months before I start, or I guess this would have been a year and a half, right? Maybe I did that, and then I started going back, because, yeah, these things are dated. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I tried to document everything. That was really, like, most people wait until after they've accomplished something to share the results. I know you can't see the full screen. This is not an ideal setup, but that was something I really took to heart when I realized it after I was building it. I was like, oh, because I started reading what other people have done. I've been reading books by wildlife photographers and reading books by that stuff. And it's very much they write a book at the end of their career in this, or their, lifelong goals of getting this stuff done. And I decided to go the opposite direction very clearly, because I started out and did a little bit on my own and then went, well, I can share this with somebody. I'm sure somebody out there is interested in this and wants to do this, and I can share what I've been stumbling with. And so I started, the blog way back then, and then doing videos, and it brings us to today. Anyway. That was part of, I don't remember where I was going with that specific thing, but I built 2 websites. Then I made a mistake. Now, I don't know why this video doesn't load, but I can tell you what the mistake is. It was this was actually one that wasn't public anyway. It was in between editing process where I went out and went to a location and set up and recorded and did the whole thing, and then got back, and the following weekend. So it was about a full week from recording to editing. And then I was during the editing process where I went, wait a minute, where's the footage from the GoPro? And then I went to grab the GoPro out the bag and went, oh, there's no GoPro here. Oh, no. And I left it, and it's gone. And I went back and checked, and somebody had taken it. And like, I can't blame them. It was a free GoPro just sitting there. I checked, and I never got it back or anything. Checked with the police department. Nobody turned it in. It is what it is. But that's my mistake. I knew it was going to happen at some point. I am so very careful when I go out to do these things, and I just knew that was going to happen at some point over the over the journey of doing this. I knew I would lose or destroy something fairly significant. And that was a couple $100 that, I replaced with another camera. And to be fair, I talked about it there being like, hey, I was getting a lot of issues with it anyway. So it's not like, I'm not that upset about it. I'm definitely upset because I hate losing money, and I hate that I spent money doing a thing and having it, and then it was gone, and I no longer even have it to just like put in the backdrop or something. Even if I won't use it anymore, I try to find something to gain a use out of everything that I've purchased, and that one's just gone. And that's on me. It sucks, but it is what it is. In a completely different vein, I bought a new camera. After doing all that work on the websites over the summer and really coming to like doing just photography got me back in the mood, like while I was editing and re-editing the photos and going back through and re-identifying the birds and basically just taking a look at 7 years worth of work and looking at it through a different lens, a different light, it made me just want to do photography at that point as well. So the summer was mostly just photography every time. So I hadn't done a lot of video stuff. And then I got to the end and I tried it out. Like I said, I went back where it was video recording and we did some of that. And then I went, what am I doing? Like the biggest revelation, I suppose, was what was the point of what I was doing? The point of me focusing on doing the video, I was using those Blackmagic Cinema cameras, the pocket ones, and doing stuff, and I was carrying like a huge bag with everything out there. And I realized when I started this, started this year, and I made this video talking about this stuff, and I went, here's the big camera. It's only useful, I only pull it out for the really big stuff where I've guaranteed, like I've got a location to go see stuff. Why? What was the why? So anyway, that really didn't, I lost my place. We get back to, I looked around, here it was, I bought a new camera. I was very excited, as I said, for all the reasons of the other part of this. I got a different camera and I was very excited to use. That's already out and I have gone out with it at least once by the end of this year and am happy with everything so far. I've got a lot to learn. I still have some things to tweak and I've got to get back out there and do that. But I kind of took a back seat for some vacation time here at the end of the year. But that's really what it's really exciting that I'm going to do that. And I'm getting back to using the main camera, the one that costs the most and by far gets the best footage out of it, that I've just been like, it's heavy. I think I said it in the video before, but every time I think of myself and going, I don't want to use it because it's heavy, all I can be reminded of is that scene in Batman Begins. It's the first one, isn't it? Batman Begins, where he's like, what is the point of doing all those bloody push-ups? The amount that I have had to work out this year, what is the point if I'm not carrying the big camera? Anyway, so that happened. Lost camera, new camera. I am really proud of myself. I maybe went a little too hard on staying to this kind of fixed schedule, but over the course of 2025, I kind of set myself a goal of going out twice every other weekend, and I did that consistently. Even with the camping trips, I think I maybe had a week or two here or there where I just kind of rearranged or I took a vacation, but I never had a gap in like releasing stuff because I had extra stuff anyway, and I kept myself going far enough ahead. I consider it a goal well accomplished. That was a difficult one, was like try to do video one day and then photography the other day. And then it turned into just photography over the summer, but like I still managed to go out all the time. And so I made a bunch more videos of the kind of like just the nature where I just set up a camera when we're doing the video and just let it run, or when I've got one on my chest and you kind of come along with me. Obviously named Come Along. Like I did a lot more of those for those reasons, and I did a lot more photography, and I just went out. I probably in 2025 went out more than any other year, and I've talked about that over the course of this year too. But because I kind of had that like set in my head, editing weekend and recording weekends as separate things, I couldn't skip them. Whereas years before, I'd be like, I'll just do it next weekend. I'll just reschedule it. It's fine. I don't feel like going out, or the weather's not good, or whatever. Regardless, I went out more than I ever have, which is great. But I probably need to be a little bit more flexible with that because it didn't really hurt me in the long run, but I have kept myself so busy that by the time I got to a vacation, I was like, oh God, I need this. And then I took a few days off of doing literally nothing and went back to work and went, I'm not ready for this either. I want more vacation time. So that's kind of a goal for 2026. I don't have a bunch of them thought up or anything, but that's something that I'm keeping in mind, is that although I do like doing that schedule, I'm going to be okay with not sticking to it and taking some time as I need it, because it's all just a hobby and it's all just an extra thing that I'm doing on top of working a 40-hour-a-week job, on top of other stuff and other responsibilities that I'm doing, on top of like so much stuff. I have been busier for sure. It doesn't feel like I got the most accomplished in 2025, but I did the most in 2025, if that makes sense. And also, who cares? It's just a year. Anyway, what else did I have on here? I went out with a new camera. That was the end of that. I did a couple other things that are worth mentioning here with mindset shifts. I bought some binoculars specifically to force myself, because I put a monetary value associated with it, to go out around the middle of the year and join up with other people. Remember, I was talking about doing this by myself and everything. And yeah, I went out and just did some bird watching groups. That was fun. I've had a blast in every single one of them. I think I did 3 back in summer and then went, I'm going to keep doing this. And because of that schedule rigidity, I haven't done another one until December. But I did 3 back then, and I just did 1 the other week, and I've got 1 coming up and another one the next week. Like, it's cool. The people are good. It's been a good time. I've been learning things, especially from that spawned in the Anhinga and then some other spots that I went to visit. Like I visited 2 or 3 new locations this year that specifically came from recommendations of the people at these birdwatch groups that I went to. So that was really useful. And I'm going to try to make more of an effort to doing that more and going and meeting people, which is super awkward for me because I don't do that or understand how to make friends as an adult. I'm trying. That's all I can say. Maybe something will come from that. Maybe not. I don't know. Either way, it's a good time, and I'm forcing myself to do so. So I'm glad that I'm getting back to doing that, because I really thought of it as like, why am I not? It was just 1 where it was scheduled. I don't remember what it was, but I just saw the thing pop up, and for like the 12th time, I went, I can't make that. And I thought about it and went, yes, I can. I just have to rearrange one of my recording time slots for video game stuff, which is definitely secondary and like bottom tier of the importance list. No offense, Mary, my sister, who I was going to record with that day. Thankfully, we just pushed it to later in the day, but then I went and did the thing. Anyway, that kind of all ties in together with I'm happy I'm going out and doing that. And part of that was a huge goal that I got done. I split everything off. At the beginning of the year, I was like, I was doing gameplay stuff on the original one because that is the second major hobby of mine besides wildlife, photography, cameras. It's video games. And for the same reason that I'm doing all the wildlife and photography, things like that, I realized at some point over this year, it's just kind of like a scrapbook, only it's virtual. It's a digital scrapbook, but even still not images. It's video as well. But it's just it's just a collection of things I've done over my life for fun. So I started doing video games. I'd been recording video games and releasing them both on Patreon and on the YouTube channel and everything, and doing goals that I had and stuff like that. So I just started and went, I'm going to play video games for a while. And I had been doing it. And so I built up a kind of backlog. And so I've managed to maintain that and stay a couple months ahead and release at least 1 video every single day for an entire year. That is 350. How many days are in a year? 365? 365 videos. It's a lot, about a half hour each, roughly, depending on the series. Some of them are a little shorter. Some of them are a little longer. I have managed to keep up with that because of those other weekends when I'm editing. It also turns into playing games. So I did that, and I built a website because I was like, I'm splitting everything off. The name that I was going by before is no longer, because it really had no meaning to begin with. And I just went, this is going to be video game. And then I don't know, I did some blog posts. It's video game related. It's just me expressing the thoughts that I have, playing games, enjoying stuff, and writing, because why not? So that was a second thing. But I did make a goal several years back that was video game related in a way of trying to get me to exercise, which was playing through all the Legend of Zelda games. This is probably the biggest project I've ever tackled and managed to stick with the entire time, because it took years to get done, and I literally rode over 5,000 miles to play through all the Legend of Zelda games. That was a huge thing to get done. It's not really related to anything else, but like, there's something I did. and I'm proud of it. I look back at that and go, wow, you did it. I haven't ridden the bike since. I stopped doing that and started walking outside more and went back to a different kind of exercise. But yeah, over the course of a few years, that was just a huge thing that I accomplished. And I'm really glad that I got it done because I don't want to do it anymore. And I think that's just about everything. Oh, I also play D&D a ton. I'm running a D&D campaign for a group of friends of mine. I think we just do everything virtually because they don't live in state, and like it's going well. I took a pre-made campaign, and I haven't run D&D in probably over a decade. Oh, maybe not that long. It's been a while though. It has been a good long while since I did any of that. And we had a group that was like, yeah, we want to play. I was like, all right, well, I'll run it. Let's just get to it. And we started that right after the beginning of 2025. And we've consistently played at least once a month more. And we're getting to the point where we're playing more and more and more. I think we just wrapped up our 30th session, and they're smaller. They're like 2 hours. So it's more bite size. And we do that every other week in addition to the schedule, like I said, anyway, because I still edit those. I record them, but they're for us. And it's another thing added onto my plate, running a campaign and preparing it. Even though I took a pre-made, I have built almost an equal amount of what we've done so far. No, maybe not equal, but I don't know. I've put my own tweaks and spins on it here and there and just thought up ways and tied it into people's backstories and really went through it. It has been a creative exercise, the likes of which I have never done before, and I am having a blast with it. I don't think we're going to stop anytime soon, and it's been great. Just fantastic. I've been having a really fun time with it. We just, for the first time, got somebody else to take a turn doing a DM for like a one shot here at Christmas, and I thought it went great. That's fantastic. I'm really glad that people are kind of stretching their legs. I haven't done Dungeons and Dragons related stuff for many, 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 many years, and I think we've got a really good time. So that's just a side thing. That has taken up a huge amount of my time, like the amount of time that I put into planning and getting, because I try to make it an experience. I realize you don't have to. I've played games where it's all theater of the mind and you don't need a table or anything, and you don't need that. We're set up on Roll20 so that I've got a map for everything. I try to plan as much in advance so I don't have to try to do it on the fly. I try to give them as much of a visual representation of what's happening as possible, and it's just really cool. That's all. I don't have any big major things that we haven't already talked about going into next year. I just use this. This is kind of the excuse for me to look back over things and go, hey, I did a good time. I had fun. I did good. There are things that I can look back on and be proud of over the course of a year. And I'm really happy with what I've done. And that's about it. Next year, more wildlife, of course. Probably at least as much, maybe a little less. Try to be a little more relaxed on myself with this stuff. I'm going to try to just take a little off the top of everything that I'm doing, just a little bit, and kind of reprioritize what it is I want to be doing, because I still have that in my head of what I actually like. The main thing I want to do is go out consistently and get good video and good audio with no human interaction of wildlife of any kind, really, but birds mostly, doing interesting behavior and capture just fantastic quality of everything there. And I've not really been doing that so much. And it's taken a big focused toll on that. But you can see over the course of it, I did a lot of things to try to branch out, going and talking to experts, going to these bird watching meetups and going and talking to people there and trying to expand my knowledge there, and reading books and watching documentaries was mostly last year, but like that helped a lot with like those kind of things. And I'm taking a different approach to getting to that goal. And I'm having fun while I'm doing it. And that's probably long enough for sure. This video's gone on far longer than it needs to be, but that was 2025. And who knows what I'll get up to in 2026. Realistically, I'm going to set some goals and I'm going to hopefully achieve them. We'll see. Bye, everybody.